It was just after 9 p.m. when I got home that night. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the ticking wall clock in the hallway. I set my purse on the kitchen counter and kicked off my shoes, letting out a tired sigh. It had been a long day at the clinic. I worked as a physical therapist, and Tuesdays were always jam-packed. My husband, Mark, was out of town for a conference, and the house should have been empty, except for Kyle, my 16-year-old stepson. Mark's son from his first marriage. Kyle had moved in with us 2 years ago. It hadn't been an easy transition. He was guarded, quiet, and often moody. But I tried to be patient, always reminding myself that teenage boys didn't exactly come with an instruction manual. As I passed the stairs on my way to the laundry room, I heard something. A muffled sound. Like a soft thud, followed by what might have been a suppressed groan. My instincts kicked in. Was Kyle hurt? I walked back toward the stairs and listened again. The sound came from his room. Door slightly ajar, light spilling into the hallway. I knocked softly. Kyle! Everything okay? Silence. Then came the hurried rustling of clothes or blankets. Why yeah, I'm fine. His voice cracked and trembled slightly. Pause. Can I come in? No. I mean, just give me a second, he called out. Took a breath. Something didn't feel right. His tone, the tension in his voice. It wasn't anger or annoyance. It was something else. Fear. Embarrassment. When he didn't respond after a minute, I gently pushed the door open. What I saw made me freeze in my tracks, not because of anything shameful or shocking, but because of the raw vulnerability on his face. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, his laptop closed beside him, tears staining his cheeks. He looked up at me with a mix of frustration and shame. I told you not to come in, he mumbled, swiping at his eyes. Kyle, I said softly, stepping into the room and closing the door behind me. What's going on? Why are you crying? He shook his head, refusing to look at me. Nothing. It's nothing. Sweetheart, you don't cry over nothing. I knelt in front of him, resting my hand gently on his knee. Talk to me. I'm not going to judge you. His jaw clenched, and for a moment I thought he'd stay silent. Then, in a barely audible voice, he said, It's just, I feel like everything's wrong with me. My heart ache. What do you mean? He hesitated, fingers twisting in the hem of his hoodie. I think I'm different. I try to act normal, but I don't even know what normal is. Sometimes I feel like there's this pressure inside me, like I can't breathe. I could feel the pain in every word he spoke. The way he curled into himself, trying to become small. Have you talked to your dad about this? Asked gently. He laughed bitterly. Right. Dad barely notices when I exist. He's too busy working or pretending I'm not a screw-up. You're not a screw-up, I said firmly. And you're not alone. You're going through something, and it's okay to admit that. He finally met my gaze. Sometimes I hate myself. I try not to, but I do. And then I hate myself more for feeling that way. I felt my throat tighten. Kyle, I said softly, reaching up to touch his cheek. I'm really glad you told me that. That took so much courage. I'm scared, he admitted, his voice breaking. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to be this person. You don't have to go through this alone, I said. There's help out there. People you can talk to, places you can go. And you have me. Every step of the way. He stared at me for a long moment, tears silently sliding down his cheeks. Then he whispered, I don't know what to do. We start small, I said, squeezing his hand. Tomorrow we'll call a counselor. Someone who knows how to help. I'll go with you. You're going to be okay, Kyle. He gave a small nod, and for the first time that night, a glimmer of relief crossed his face. That night, I stayed in his room until he fell asleep. I sat in the corner chair, watching over him, heart aching with a mix of protectiveness and love. Mark might have been his biological parent, but in that moment, I knew I had stepped fully into the role of mother. Over the next few weeks, things started to change. Kyle and I went to a counselor together. First, he barely spoke. But gradually, he opened up. He talked about the pressure he felt to be someone he wasn't, the anxiety that made his chest tighten at school, the loneliness that settled over him like fog. Mark returned from his trip and was initially dismissive of Kyle's emotions. "He's just being dramatic," he said one night. "He's a teenage boy. They go through phases." I stared at him across the dinner table, anger rising. "No, Mark. He's not being dramatic. He's drowning. And if we keep pretending not to see it, we're failing him." Took time, but eventually Mark came around. He started attending sessions with us, listening more, reacting less. The three of us began to function like a real family. One evening, months later, Kyle knocked on my door. He was smiling, something I didn't see often before. "I got my report card," he said. 3 A's and 1 B. "That's amazing." I hugged him, feeling pride swell in my chest. "I also signed up for the school art club," he added. "And I told one of my friends about therapy." "That's brave, Kyle. Really brave." He hesitated, then said something that brought tears to my eyes. "Thanks for helping me that night. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come in." I pulled him into a hug. "You don't ever have to go through anything alone again. I promise." As time went on, Kyle continued to blossom. He found his voice, his confidence, and slowly started letting people in. He still had tough days, but now he had tools, support, and love surrounding him. And I never stopped watching the door. Never stopped listening for the silence that meant something more. Because sometimes the most important moments happen when you least expect them. When you walk into a room, see someone struggling with a secret, and decide to sit beside them until the darkness lifts.